Man, you can almost see my bruise. See that right there? That's a bruise from work. I just noticed it yesterday. So I don't know when that bruise occurred, but it's definitely from work. So I hope everyone's doing good. We're just on Twitch today, so it's not a multi-stream. Just Twitch. And I got coffee. And there's a bunch of shit in the list because I've been pretty busy, so I haven't watched too many videos lately. So we'll see.
Why would you want to play an MMO?
Okay, before we'll see how many we get through. I feel pretty good right now though. Mondays I'm usually pretty tired. But I feel pretty good.
Solo in 2024.
I think we can get through a few.
Let's start with that, because the truth is a lot of us end up spending most of our time playing our MMOs by ourselves. Whether it's on purpose or not, we log into these massively multiplayer online worlds and then do solo activities like questing or farming some rare cosmetic. And a lot of us spend
I'm basically a solo player with MMOs, except I do like raiding, and I do like for WoW, for example, I like raiding and M+. But I would say that's like 50-50, I would say. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe even, nowadays I don't really raid as much as I used to raid. So maybe even less than 50. But yeah, I'm definitely more a solo player. You get more done solo.
Little time doing the group activities in MMOs, like raiding. So why play an MMO? In my opinion, it's because it gives us the option to scratch that multiplayer itch if and when we want to. But also, we love the idea of a never-ending RPG, of developing a character over months and years as the story constantly unfolds ahead of it, year after year.
No, that's not that's not it at all. It's because MMOs now are collection. And yeah. Yeah, if the MMOs weren't so collection focused nowadays, people would do group content more than solo, because I would say Vanilla, BC, and Wrath, I did more group content than solo, but then Wrath to now, more solo content than group, because, achievements collection, became the game. More or less.
Here, new stories, quests, and abilities are added, and that never-ending nature of an MMORPG is truly unique to the genre. Not only that epic cosmetic or mount that you farmed is much more satisfying to use when there's someone actually around to see it. The massively multiplayer part of the MMO is great, but the fact that all of that work that we put into the character isn't discarded after a week or two, like in a single-player game, is at least as important. So which MMOs do the best job of providing endless, high-quality content for the solo player? Whether they're the player that doesn't have friends to play with, or the player that does have friends, but those friends are always way ahead or way behind them. Let's dive into them. Here's my updated list of MMOs to play without friends in 2024, in no particular order. First up, Guild Wars 2. Mounts, gliding, and vertical zones.
I've never played that one.
Mounts have set the bar for what mounts should be. If you enjoyed dragon riding in WoW's Dragonflight expansion, you have Guild Wars 2 to thank for that. Guild Wars 2.
Okay, so don't play Guild Wars 2 then, because I hate dragon riding.
Amazing solo content.
Fuck you, Guild Wars 2.
Another MMO with a heavy focus on the story it tells.
Thanks for making my game shit.
Not only are the characters around you voice acted, but so is your character. This adds a lot to each piece of the story you encounter, as you can hear the pain, the frustration, and the laughter coming from your character's voice. Guild Wars 2 has some of the most fun single-player zone exploration out of all the MMOs on this list. You can solve jumping puzzles to get to secret loot, and zone completion is insanely fun and rewarding, as it provides points for upgrading both your character and your mount. When you get to the game's first expansion, you'll get a glider, which allows you to jump off anything and everything, and trust me, you will. You can solo your way through the entire story of Guild Wars 2, but it does have meta events where 100+ players will meet up to take down dragon dragons the size of
100
high-rises. I know
plus?
you're a
Holy
solo
shit.
main, but trust me, when you see one of these events happening, you're gonna want to run over and join in. It's a ton of fun. Guild Wars 2 has a community that loves their MMO perhaps more than any other MMO community I hear from. They're very vocal about it, and maybe there's a reason. The first 80 levels and over 200 hours of content are completely free, so jump in and try it if you haven't yet. It's an amazing game. There's no sub, not even an optional sub, but you will have to buy the expansion content if and when you play it after you hit level 80. Next up, we have Final Fantasy 14.
You know, that's how every MMO should be. Just no sub, you just buy the expansions. Yeah. It's like I'm used to paying the WoW subs, so I guess most of the time I don't really think about it unless someone mentions it, But really, I think the sub lowers the player base.
This game is the embodiment of why say in 10 words what you could say in 100. But first, now, while this game is amazing, sometimes you just want something that you can play on the couch or on the go. That's where Dungeon Fighter Online comes in. It's free to play, so you've got nothing to lose by trying it. And it's one of the most popular PC games for a reason.
Ad.
Few things are as fun as exploring the secrets locked deep inside unexplored dungeons. As the name would imply,
we'll watch it, I guess. Let him do his little sponsorship.
DFO just added a brand new dungeon, codenamed Gaebolg, for you to explore. It's also got more than 60 different class advancements, each with unique skills that allow you to enjoy literally any playstyle you want. You can further customize your characters with skill tree advancements, equipment upgrades, and cosmetic items. And there's currently 3 limited time events going on to make your time in the game even more exciting. Dungeon Fighter Online is getting into the holiday spirit by giving out tons of free rewards as part of the Level Up Power Up with Behi event and the Happy Thanks Gifting from Jong event. On top of that, they have the Lucky 7 Login event, which is a 77-day event starting December 5th that allows you to receive big rewards.
Okay. I'm busted. I'm busted. Yep, that's how long it's taken me to watch this video. This video came out, the last month of 2023. Yeah. But hey, it's only a couple of months. I've definitely done worse.
Rewards just for logging into the game. Every 7th day or any day with the number 7 in it, you'll receive bonus rewards like a rare clone weapon avatar or the Neo Awakened One's avatar and more. Watch your favorite DFO streamers on Twitch through December 19th to receive rewards like singing Rudolph avatars, creatures, and a legendary card. Join the millions of people playing right now by downloading Dungeon Fighter Online for free. Be sure to use the link in the video description below and code Welcome to DFO Gift to receive incredible rewards to get you started on the right foot. Thanks for listening, and thanks to Neopol for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it. Final Fantasy XIV is what many players refer to as an RPG MMO. The story absolutely comes first, and there is a lot of it. Every bit of content in the game is unlocked as part of the story. Want to do a dungeon? Follow the story. Want to do a trial? Same thing. And in 2024, Final Fantasy XIV is getting a massive new expansion, making now the perfect time to hop in and catch up before its release. If you've ever logged into an MMO and not been sure what you were supposed to do first, you don't have to worry about that in Final Fantasy.
Man, 2010 is Final Fantasy 14 is old as fuck, right? I guess I forget that one came out shortly after WoW, like 6 years after, but it's still fucking old, man.
Fantasy 14. The answer is always, in part or in whole, the main story quest. There's hundreds of hours of content there alone, and that's before you get into all of the optional stuff like side quests or cosmetic and mount farming, which Final Fantasy does better than just about any other MMO out there. All the best cosmetics and all the best mounts are earned.
It's kind of a bummer that I never really liked Final Fantasy 14. Love the solo player games, grew up with Final Fantasy, but it was too quiet of a game. That was my gripe with it, is that there was just, I'd do a quest and it was just way too fucking quiet. There was barely any background sound. There was no talking. That's initially why I stopped playing it. And so, yeah, it's too bad, though, because I have seen their mounts and I've seen some of their transmogs. It's like the mounts I like, but the transmogs, I don't know. Like, look at that girl. Like, I don't want to walk around with those ears. But the guy transmogs don't seem to be too bad. It's just the girl ones I'm a little
in game. I mention that because this alone adds so much to the solo experience, as you have so many mounts and cosmetics that you can work your way towards, even as a solo player in Final Fantasy XIV. Now, it's worth noting that since the dungeons and trials are part of the story, even a solo player will have to do those. Fortunately, the game makes this process incredibly painless, as it automatically creates a group for you to do the content with. And if you're reluctant to group with other players because you've played with people that were mean in the past, I will say Final Fantasy's community is without a doubt the nicest I've experienced in any MMO.
You know, I was gonna pause it before I even heard that line, but I'm just gonna say I disagree. You know, like, I don't know how they are in game, but I've seen Final Fantasy players in streams. And I would not say they are nice. Yeah. I would say the opposite. And now I forgot what I was going to say before that. Oh yeah, they were talking about the dungeons and well, I can't remember what they call it in Final Fantasy. But you know, whatever their challenge mode name is. And WoW does that now. That's the oh fuck, what's it called? I can't remember. I used it a couple of times where you go into a dungeon and non-player guys join you, and yeah, solo dungeons. But is that what they call it in WoW? Is it solo dungeons? I feel like it's called something else.
Because the developers actively ban toxic players. It's not like a lot of MMOs where they say they'll ban them. No, if someone talks crap to the group at the end of a dungeon and you report them, that player will, without a doubt, get banned. It's such a simple thing that makes all...
Oh, that's pretty trolly. I'm thinking back to 2004 when we used to report literally everyone. Luckily, WoW has never cared. But
all the
if
difference.
they do,
As a result, something weird happened. Random groups are really nice to each other in Final Fantasy XIV. It's a unique vibe in the MMO landscape that you kind of have to experience to believe. Now, if the idea of doing dungeons with even nice players is still
I
something you'd
experienced it,
rather
I don't
avoid,
believe
Final
it.
Fantasy XIV has this thing called the trust system for you solo players that lets you queue into group content with a group of NPCs, allowing you to avoid nearly all human interaction if you so desire. If you're in the mood for an amazing decade-long story with a fantastic cast of characters, an unforgettable score, and some of the most epic cutscenes in any MMO.
Okay, pausing again. You know this guy's a fucking heavy-duty Final Fantasy player. Look at the timestamp there. This right here was Guild Wars. Look at all these timestamps. Although we would be spoiling the video by seeing what's next, so I won't mouse over them. But you can see here, Guild Wars was what? Like a minute? Yeah, roughly a minute. Then we get into Final Fantasy. It's just a fucking huge amount of time. And I don't want to spoil the rest, but I'm guessing the next timestamp, just based off the length, the next one's probably WoW. Yeah, this guy is probably a Final Fantasy WoW player, as most MMO players are. You know, like if you're big in the genre, you probably started with WoW or RuneScape or whatever, ended up playing Final Fantasy, you know, and then not much more of anything else. So who knows what the rest are, but that's my guess.
However, check out Final Fantasy XIV. Final Fantasy XIV's last expansion was its most successful ever, so there's never been a better time to jump in. They recently extended the free trial to include the first 70 levels and the first 2 expansions. After that, you will have to purchase the game, and you will have to pay for a subscription if you want to keep progressing.
You know, I think WoW should extend the levels on their free trial, because the thing is, WoW keeps making the game easier. And it's still 20 levels, right? At least back in the day, 20 levels took you at least a bit of time, you know, at least a weekend, I'd say. But nowadays, you could do 20 levels in less than an hour. You know? I think it's time that they up that level.
farther. Next up, Elder Scrolls Online, PC, Mac, Xbox.
Wow, I guess a lot of people like ESO. So which one do we think would okay, it's probably WoW after then. What's the longest time? And we can't count the last one because there's probably a little blab of him ending the video and all that and that timestamp. Yeah, who knows? WoW is somewhere in this video.
Xbox and PlayStation. Furries, scalies, and drunk Nords running around Skyrim. Elder Scrolls.
You know, I have played Elder Scrolls, and I like ESO, and I have nothing bad to say about it. I just don't return to it. But yeah, I liked ESO. I just couldn't get into
Online.
it. Whoops. I just couldn't get into it like I have gotten into WoW, but I have absolutely nothing bad to say about it.
Is another MMO that focuses on the story first and group content second.
Man, that one's old
2024
too.
is a great year to dive into ESO. It's coming off the heels of an amazing 2023 where they added a great new class and an endless dungeon. But possibly even more important is that 2024 is going to be ESO's 10-year anniversary, and I'd wager they'll go big for their 10-year expansion.
For
in
sure.
Elder Scrolls Online, you can go.
Speaking of, this year will be WoW's 20th, and I'm hoping they go big with theirs. You know, not to take away your 10-year ESO. It's, 10 years is great, but 20 years is really good. Just saying. And not only is it really good, but they have, on their crappiest fucking expansions, they still hold on to millions of players. So, like, yeah, it would be the time to do something awesome. Bring people back.
In any order, as each zone story is a compartmentalized experience. This means the long-jumping Morrowind fans can start in Morrowind, the stealth archers can start in Skyrim, and the people who have no idea what I'm talking about can begin their Daedric education.
That's
ESO
me.
is a theme park MMO, which means you've got a ton of
I have
different
no
options that
idea
you
what
can
he's
choose from
talking
every
about.
time you sign in.
Incoming
You can go
ad,
to
guys,
quests,
5
you can go to
minutes.
delves, dungeons, trials, or anything you
That's
want.
not
They're
how
adding
long
new
that'll
content
be.
every quarter,
It'll
so
start
you
in
never
5
have to worry
minutes.
about running out of things to do. While the group content does offer a lot of great experiences and amazing gear, you are by no means required to engage with any of it. You can stick to the solo.
Hey, Black Dragon. I am getting old. Transformers is 40 years. Is it? Oh, yeah. Wow. I can't believe Transformers is 40 years. Pokemon is 25. That one's crazy too. I guess Pokemon, like, I might have been too old for Pokemon, maybe. Maybe it showed up just as I was exiting kids stuff. I don't know. Like, Pokemon never interested me. The only reason I've mentioned, oh, I should play a Pokemon game one day is because I'm a streamer. Yeah. But like, I've never been interested in Pokemon, so I think I skipped over, I think I was just in the wrong generation for that one. Yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh! I remember Yu-Gi-Oh! I was always a Magic girl, and back then, if you played Magic the Gathering, you dissed Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think it was the same for Yu-Gi-Oh! Dissing Magic. Yeah. So I remember that very, very well. Yeah. And yeah, WoW, of course, is 20. Yeah. 40th anniversary just began. Ah, nice. Yeah, that's crazy.
Questing activities exclusively if you so desire. If you want to make friends, that's easy too, as ESO lets you join 5
One
guilds at a
thing
time.
One thing I'm learning through this video right now is that no MMOs are new. No good ones anyway. These are all MMOs from 2004. Well, they haven't actually mentioned WoW yet, but we know they're gonna, right? So 2004 to 2014, I guess, because, Final Fantasy is basically, I think Final Fantasy was 2010, Final Fantasy 14. So, yeah, these are all fucking old MMOs. But, you know why that is, right? Because older MMOs have the not only the reputation and all that, but they have the funds to keep adding to them. That's why they end up it's the same fucking grouping all the time. Every time someone does best MMOs to play, it's always the same fucking MMOs because good luck being a brand new MMO competing with MMOs that have been around for 10 to 20 years. Like it's never gonna happen, and that's why these guys are always gonna be at the top of the list. Yeah, even on their worst days. Because at the end of the day, you gotta have one hell of a fucking team to put this much content in to even stand a chance against some of these guys. Yeah. Right? And New World wasn't too bad, but it's not good enough. you know? Like, that's the problem, and that's the problem they all have. And it's unfortunate because it's not entirely their fault. MMOs, for one, are super pricey to make. And two, you're competing against, like I said, these MMOs that have been around for so long, and they'll never die. They have loyal fan bases, and you're just never gonna make it.
Time so that you can be in a specific guild for each type of activity you want to engage in, whether it's dungeons, roleplay, the economy, or you name it. ESO's questing is very easy, perhaps too easy, so it makes for a very relaxing experience that is much more about the story
that is
than
one
the
hell
combat.
of a
On
fall.
the bright side, every single line of NPC dialogue is voice acted, and there are some pretty massive names voice acting these characters. Names like Kate Beckinsale, Nolan North, Linda Carter, and John Cleese.
Really? Kate Beckinsale voices a character in ESO?
Which there is a ton to soak up as you play this game.
I didn't know that.
I'd argue
of
that
course,
it's a lot
I'm
easier to
not
soak
a
up the
huge
lore as a
ESO
solo
player.
You can slow down to listen to every line of dialogue, and you can stop to read the lore note that you found along the way. You can usually pick up the base game for less than $10 when it's on sale, $20 when it's not, and if you enjoy it, you can spring for the sub to get all the DLCs, more than doubling the size of the game. The sub is optional.
I have ESO, and I think I have up to Morrowind. Is it Morrowind? But they keep bringing out, like, ESO brings out I swear to God, expansions faster than WoW does. Yeah, so I'm a little behind in the expansions, which really doesn't matter because I play ESO like once every 2 years, but yeah. That, point is that they are probably way past Morrowind. Yeah. Yeah, Star Wars Old Republic. I had friends that really wanted me to be a Star Wars Old Republic player. I think I played it a couple of days and it wasn't bad, but once again, it was kind of like ESO, where I have nothing bad to say about it. It was a great game, but it wasn't a game that hooked me to the point where I was like logging in every day. WoW is the only MMO to be able to do that with me, where I actually wanted to log in every day. Yeah.
Optional, but you'll find that inventory management.
The rest, I play them, and most of them I'll enjoy, but, they don't get touched again for the most part.
Is tough without it, and a lot of the coolest items and the best gear are tucked away into that expansion content.
Oh, for sure. RuneScape is pretty much, hot take here, but bigger than WoW, right? Like, there are probably way more RuneScape players than there is WoW players because it came out first. And the people who, well, I won't say the people, but most of the people who play or played WoW, at least back in the earlier days, they came from RuneScape, So, yeah, tons of people still play RuneScape. Plus, they did that other version, right? There's like old RuneScape, and then there's some new RuneScape now.
content. Still, even without the sub, the base game by itself provides hundreds of hours of Elder Scrolls content. If you enjoy Elder Scrolls games and you're not expecting a Skyrim clone, you'll probably enjoy soloing your way through Elder Scrolls Online. If you're enjoying this video, consider liking the video and subscribing for more MMO content. I've got some amazing videos coming up about the future of the MMO genre. Next up, we
consider
have
it,
Old School
buddy.
RuneScape. 2013 PC, Mac, Linux, iOS, and Android. Old
There
school
you go.
graphics,
Old school
leveling,
RuneScape.
Old school RuneScape. Old school RuneScape is a sandbox MMO where you can sign in and do anything anytime. If you're not a fan of following a linear quest line through an MMO, or your aging computer has less computing power than your new toaster, this might be the perfect MMO for you. That's not to say there aren't quests, as there are over 150 story-driven quest lines in Old School RuneScape. You can focus on skilling, which is basically improving your character's various different skills. Want to be better at something? Have your character do that thing. A lot of that thing. And it will be. This is the most classic feeling MMO on the list today, as RuneScape was originally released in 2001. Thanks to its old age and thus modest computational demand, this MMO can even be played on your phone because of these.
I was really hoping he would actually, mention the actual date, because he has it listed as 2013, because that's like when Old School RuneScape came out, right? But to a noob, they'd probably think it was 2013. Speaking of,
These very low device requirements and the slower nature of the game in general, this is definitely one of
Oh,
the
he's
most
doing
accessible
push-ups?
MMOs
I wish
on
he
this
could do
list today.
push-ups in
You can group
WoW.
up with others, or you can choose to go it alone, as almost all of this game's content is soloable if you want it to be. Old School RuneScape is free to try, but if you enjoy it, you'll have to buy its subscription, known as a RuneScape Bond, if you want to continue progressing. Next up, we have a game that you've undoubtedly heard of, World of Warcraft.
Yeah,
2004
obviously.
PC and Mac. Or the Horde, or the Alliance. Which passionate side will you choose? For a long time, World of Warcraft was the uncontested king of the MMO sphere, dwarfing its competition in terms of player count. Today, it's still massive, though it's definitely not the uncontested titan that it once was. WoW's last expansion, Dragonflight, was one of the best open world questing and exploring experiences I've found in any MMO to date. 2024 is going to be a huge year for WoW because Blizzard has announced a trilogy of expansions coming starting in 2024. WoW has been around since 2004, and as a result, has a massive amount of content that you can do solo. This includes, of course, tons and tons of questing, and also the ability to go back and solo old dungeons and raids while you're on the hunt for cosmetics, pets, and mounts. WoW's questing isn't quite as immersive as Elder Scrolls, Guild Wars, or SWTOR, but it's more immersive than MMOs like RuneScape, BDO, or Lost Ark. Where WoW wins hands down is its massive, seamless open world for you to explore with thousands of collectibles to farm. If you can see a place, you can fly to it, no matter how far away it is. Zone walls just aren't a thing. WoW features a ton of group content, and it's adding Final Fantasy XIV's trust system so that you can enjoy a lot of that group content without having to play with other players. If you decide to play with other players, WoW does provide the ability for you to queue into dungeons and raids, so coming into WoW without friends won't prevent you from doing any of the game's content if you want to. WoW features a very brief trial, allowing you to play up to 20 levels for free, so you can get your toes wet before spending any money. After that, you'll need to purchase the game and a subscription to continue playing it. Next up, we have Star Wars: The Old Republic. Lightsabers, space, and the Force.
Wow, pretty short one, buddy, for WoW, compared to your long-ass Final Fantasy fucking spiel, just saying.
Star Wars: The Old Republic, or SWTOR as it's known, is a story-driven MMO about, well, Star Wars. It features familiar Star Wars music and atmosphere, so if you're a fan of the Star Wars franchise, you'll immediately feel at home in this MMO. In fact, the music is so Star Wars that I can't even play it because I'll get DMCA'd. Hence the random music playing behind this section of the
I
video.
love Star Wars. That's why my friends were always trying to get me to play it, because, they knew how much I love Star Wars.
Story as a solo player, and
it does look good for being
each class
pretty,
has its own storyline,
pretty fucking old.
Each storyline has 3 different possible endings. The choices you make as you play through.
I think ultimately what made me not do it, aside from, back then I was super into WoW. Like, I still am, but it was crazy back then. Like, I was I was playing probably like 12 to 15 hour days in WoW. I was getting no sleep, going to work like a zombie. Yeah. So back then there was no chance in hell I was playing anything else, you know? Yeah.
Through it will determine the ending that you earn. When you ask Star Wars players what their favorite part of the game is, it's usually these robust class stories. Star Wars The Old Republic is now a free-to-play MMO with an optional sub, though if you do sub for just 1 month, you'll unlock all the content and get access to it forever, even after the sub expires. This is another MMO where questing is simply too easy. You can feel like you're just going through the motions while you're in combat because they've dumbed the questing experience down way too much. This is all salvaged by focusing on the story that the questing experience offers rather than the combat.
She cried?
KOTOR has had a rough year, with the developers handing the game off to another studio to oversee its final years. The future of the game has never been more uncertain. Regardless, the solo story that is there now is excellent and definitely worth enjoying if you're ready to dive into a good Star Wars story. Next up, we have Black Desert Online. Beautiful waifus and beautiful combat. Black Desert Online is the perfect...
You know, I've played Black Desert Online, but it was literally into 2015. It was the year it came out. I haven't played it since. So I have no idea what they've been doing with that game, but it was fun in 2015.
Perfect MMO for solo players because it's an MMO that was actually designed to be played solo. Group content in this MMO is almost non-existent and definitely plays second fiddle to the solo grinding that they built the game around. 2023 saw BDO add a lot of additional story.
How many timestamps? It might be next.
In its Land of the Morning
Maybe
Light expansion.
Black Dragon.
So in 2024, you'll have plenty to do as a new
There's
player.
one, maybe two more.
That hates questing. Do you prefer posting up in an area and grinding out mobs for experience? If so, BDO is the perfect MMO for you because that's exactly what it wants you to do. Round up groups of mobs and knock them down. One thing to note, however, is that in BDO, once you reach a certain level, the game does become full PvP. Anytime you're grinding XP out in the world, someone could come and kill you, or you could go and kill them.
If you hear a meow, that's my cat.
So it's not a big deal if you do die.
She was sleeping under the tree.
But I know some people are definitely not going to appreciate the mandatory PvP experience, so it's worth mentioning. BDO is a gorgeous MMO with a decent enough story, but it's most commonly praised for the look and feel of its combat. You can even play BDO on mobile, but it's a different version of the game tailored to mobile devices, and it's not cross-platform. So you'll not be able to play with PC players if you're playing on mobile and vice versa. The gear upgrade system is one of those chance-based gambling systems that a lot of players are going to hate or love. The game is currently buy to play with an optional monthly subscription. If you're looking for something that's different, beautiful, and has amazing combat, maybe try grinding out some levels in Black Desert Online. Next, we have Lost Ark. Massive weapons, massive spells.
Oh, I totally forgot about Lost Ark.
Lost Ark is a free-to-play top-down ARPG MMO. If you've enjoyed Diablo-likes before, this
I did actually stream Lost Ark when it first came out. We did one day, and I would have kept going with Lost Ark, but after the one day, I realized how pay to win it was, and I'm not a gambler, never have been. So the minute I find out something's extremely pay to win, I drop it immediately so that I'm not taunted to... Is taunted the right word? Like, I'm not lured in.
Isometric perspective will feel familiar, but that's about where the similarities to Diablo end. Lost Ark is much more of an MMO than an ARPG. You have hundreds and thousands of hours of progression tucked.
So New World will definitely be next then. If he's talking about Lost Ark. Yeah.
Into this game if you want it. There's a lot of content that you can do solo in Lost Ark, but there's also a ton of content that requires you to group up with other players. Fortunately, this is all handled by the game, and you don't need to bring friends with you to enjoy it. Lost Ark is an MMO with tons for you to do every day. I would even argue it's got too many dailies, but they aren't required. You can choose zone completion, cosmetic farming, sailing, life skill.
But they are to some people, and I say that because I'm a questaholic, so you can't have a shit ton of quests and say they're not required, because when you're a questaholic, they're required. You need to do every single one of them. So it's best to just not have a shit ton of quests. Just saying.
Skilling, leveling, questing, you name it. It lets you do everything your typical MMO lets you do, and then some. With a lot of grinding, you can even play this game for completely free. But if you tend not to enjoy pay to win, then you may want to choose one of the other MMOs on this list. This year, I'm adding New World to the list of fantastic solo
Figured.
MMOs. This one is very satisfying to play solo, but for a different reason than those above. The questing experience isn't as strong
Fishing
as
is
some of
the only
previously
thing I
mentioned
did in
MMOs,
that
but it's
game.
getting better every year as it's been a big focus for the game. Every patch since launch has been aimed at improving the
Okay,
solo
I guess I cut
experience,
some
making
trees.
group content more optional
Mainly
while adding
fished.
more solo content to do. Where New World really stands out is its open world exploration and its crafting and gathering progression. There isn't another MMO with a more satisfying crafting and gathering system. You can go out and mine in the mountains, chop trees in the forest, or fish next to a waterfall. It's a great source of relaxing solo content that you can chip away at whenever you have the itch. And thanks to the fact that there is no subscription, it's the perfect game to play on and off when you feel like it without feeling like you're wasting money every time you're not playing it. New World is night and day better than it was at launch, with its Brimstone expansion in 2022, and perhaps more importantly, its new expansion in 2023 that finally added mounts. New World is starting to
Really?
feel like a polished.
I didn't even know they had expansions. It's been a hot minute since I played New World. Just gonna say, that was again a day one thing. Yeah.
MMO. Except for this. This is somehow still a thing. It features satisfying action combat that's easy to learn and hard to master. So if you want to explore,
You know
a
what?
gorgeous-
They really should, and WoW should totally do this, but all MMOs should do this. But you got all these professions. How come there isn't swimming lessons in the mix, like so that you can learn to not drown? Just saying.
seamless open world and level your gathering professions, or if you love games with amazing crafting systems, New World could be the perfect game for you to solo your way through. While it seems totally contrary to the entire point of an MMO, more and more these days it feels like soloing in an MMO is what we spend most of our time doing. The MMO landscape has changed a lot in 2023. Now we are jumping into 2024. More and more content is built for the solo player, and less is built for the group player. How has that affected your view of solo
That's pretty
content?
cool.
Do you think it's good or bad for the genre? Let me know in the comments below. I may feature your response in a future video. Here are some great responses from last time I made a video like this. As always, thank you so much for watching, thank you so much for your comments, and be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more MMO content. A massive shout out to my channel members. Click the join button down below for more information on how to become a member and support the channel. Oh, and I forgot to ask, what are you gonna do next? Maybe check out one of these videos popping up on screen right now?
Nope. Whatever next video is in my watch list. But great video, guy.